In 2002, when local journalists reported on the destructive history of New York priest Father Gennaro Gentile, a dismaying narrative of red flags, denial, and concealment were brought to light. And after more than 30 years of grooming kids and their families and sexually abusing young children, Gentile, aka Father Jerry, was publicly exposed as a sexual predator, and the Catholic Church's failure to protect the children in his path was laid bare. Gennaro Gentile began grooming adolescents for sexual abuse in his very first assignment as a deacon at St. Mary's Church in Wappinger Falls, Dutchess County, months before he was even ordained a priest at St. Patrick's Cathedral in 1971. Supervisors who knew Father Jerry raised concerns over the priest's preoccupation with children. Yet Gentile was assigned to St. Mary's Parish in Poughkeepsie, where he worked as a priest until 1967. At St. Mary's, Gentile was known to spend a great deal of time with children, frequently taking them on outings where he had the opportunity to be alone with them. Years later, at least 2 men would come forward with accounts of sexual abuse at the hands of Gennaro Gentile. The number of children he may have harmed during this period is still unknown. In 1976, Father Gentile was transferred to St. Denis in Hopewell Junction, Dutchess County. While there, Gentile began taking children on secluded overnight retreats, driving them in a school bus he purchased himself. He often spent time alone with children in the rectory, which also raised concerns of then-pastor Father Joseph Meehan. After 6 years at St. Denis, church leaders shuffled Gentile from parish to parish, with reports of his sexual abuse of children catching up to him at each assignment. Starting in 1982, Father Jerry spent a year at St. Mary's in Marlborough, but was soon reassigned to St. Eugene's in Yonkers, where he spent only 6 months. From there he was moved to St. Charles Borromeo in Gardner, and eventually landed in Croton-on-the-Hudson, where he worked for 13 years at Holy Name of Mary. During this time, reports of Father Gentile's child sexual abuse reached the highest offices in the Archdiocese of New York. In 1994, Gentile is said to have given a 14-year-old boy liquor before sexually abusing him at an upstate lake house, which was known to many as Jerry's Retreat. The Archdiocese, however, failed to remove Gentile from ministry or limit his activities in order to protect other children. Finally, in 2000, a few concerned parishioners managed to convince Catholic officials to remove Gentile from the parish. Rather than permanently remove Father Jerry from ministry or alert authorities of his crimes, the superiors at the Archdiocese opted to continue moving Gentile to new locations, assigning him to St. Benedict's in the Bronx. St. Benedict's proved to be Gentile's last parish. When accounts of Father Jerry's history of child sexual abuse began circulating at St. Benedict's, parishioners began a letter-writing campaign to the Archdiocese of New York, demanding Gentile's removal from the Bronx parish, some withholding their donations until he was removed. The Archdiocese relocated Gentile to the Catholic Center Annulments Office in an attempt to avoid further scrutiny. However, by this time, journalists from across the state of New York had picked up and reported the story, which finally led to Father Gennaro Gentile's removal from ministry. In 2005, thanks to continued pressure from parishioners, the New York press, and survivors and advocacy groups, the Vatican announced that Gentile was finally defrocked for his 30-plus years of sexually abusing children.